Captain's Log, Subdate 200820.3. The Star Destroyer Fluffykins has sent another message. It wants to conduct these talks on my vessel. I get the strangest of feelings. Sithie just wants to use the holodeck for the Orion slave girls, and to put a Gungan genocide on me. Welcome everyone to the 50th, yeah we made it this far, exhibition of stupid people. Today we have 6 subjects I'd like to go through. Before we start, I'm going to be streaming some fishing over on Twitch tonight. No Assassin's Creed, I'd like an evening off. If you're at all interested in watching me fumble about, link to my Twitch channel down below. So to start, I'm going to go with a public service announcement, because this one cropped up last year, and it bugged me then. It sure as feck bothers me now. Every year, a owner goes out in their car to go shopping. Sometimes they'll take their children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, dogs. And what typically happens next is, in the summer, the person who owns the pet typically leaves the pet in the car in the unbearable heat to suffer, while they go into a highly air-conditioned establishment for up to an hour, possibly longer, to do whatever it is they need to do, which can be exacerbated under current COVID guidelines, where some are made to queue up outside and you have to be 2 meters apart from every customer. Your shopping trip can take a lot longer, meaning that the dog in the car is in there for longer, because somebody's too dense to not take their dog food shopping, knowing their dog is going to suffer in the car. Last year I saw this in a Sainsbury's car park to my town. I was very cross, and I waited 45 minutes for the owner of the dog to return, where I then spent an inordinate amount of time screaming at them, and then explaining why one of the windows to their car was broken, and their dog was drinking from a shoe on the floor. Yes, classy. Unsurprisingly, many people don't seem to understand you really shouldn't leave your dog in a car during 97 Fahrenheit temperatures. You really shouldn't. Yet, they continue to do so. Oh, but the dog doesn't sweat, is an argument I hear. If you think a dog sweats, you're too stupid to own a dog. Stop leaving your dog out on boiling hot tarmac because it damages their feet. Stop leaving your dog in a car with all the windows shut because you don't want your car stolen, but it's okay if the dog has a stroke. Stop it. This has been my TED Talk. Moving on from that, I'd like to quickly talk about protesting, because there was one that took place that made me chuckle. More than 100 demonstrators converged outside the North Carolina mansion of the Postmaster General. Their protest was against the cutback delays, along with other changes to the US Postal Service that have created fears for mail-in voting ahead of the November presidential election. In short, a group of people, dubbed liberals by the article I'm referencing this from, have decided to protest in person against voting in person. Right. There are a number of claims here and there. Some have said that people should take advantage of the normal absentee voting methods. I'm more impressed people bothered to protest voting since your voter turnout has been going down for quite some time. Was it even 50% last time? Now, some do believe that President Trump is attempting to sabotage the US Postal Service by claiming that he's trying to gut the number of USPS letter collection boxes, with the evidence being a truck hauling off said boxes. I thought it was because they were old and being replaced, but okay. So next we're going to go with fly tipping. Fly tipping is where you take your rubbish and dump it somewhere else that isn't in a designated, let's say, rubbish spot, like a bin or a tip. With the fly tipping in mind, somebody decided over a period of time to dump 421 tyres on a farmer's land. The tyres in question were dumped on Stuart Baldwin's farm in Wigan. Stuart decided to turn detective because of all these tyres turning up, and acquired some CCTV. In doing so, he was able to find out who it was that was dumping the tyres, and he traced it back to an address, where he then went to that person's home and gave them a deadline to remove all of those tyres or he would take action. because the local council, as is the case when they get involved here, or are asked to get involved, do nothing, because they suck. Stuart decided to use a rather large container, put all 421 tyres into the container, drive to the home of the gentleman who had dumped all those tyres in the first place, and put them in his front garden. 421 tyres in a mid-terrace property's front garden, by the way, is a lot of tyres. Somebody's not getting into their house, but if they jump out the window, they're going to have a nice soft landing. It should be noted, when the man was requested to remove them, he had indicated that he was going to move them, so Stuart did give them benefit of the doubt. But as is the case with ingrates like this one, they did nothing. What's quite interesting to me with all this fly tipping is that there is actually a penalty for it. You can be fined up to £50,000 and up to 12 months imprisonment. Well, stick the guy in prison then. He clearly did this over a period of time, for reasons I don't quite understand. Maybe he's a street racer in a Vauxhall Nova. So the Daily Mail put out a rather interesting article on Friday of last week. This one was interesting to me because it featured a number of crimes on the headline, and yet for some odd reason the one that wasn't first was the one that I feel is a legitimate crime, whereas the ones they centred their attention on were not. So yes, the Daily Mail are part of the idiots in this. Benjamin Hannum was a Metropolitan Police officer, and he was arrested and accused of 5 offences, one of which included possessing C.P. But that wasn't what they focused their attention on. They focused their attention on fraud and being a member of an outlawed group called National Action under the terrorism legislation of 2016. I did a video on Miss Hitler, and she was sentenced because of her involvement with this group. Sent to prison, in fact. And my view is, nobody should be sent to prison for being a member of a group. They really shouldn't. It is a thought crime at that point. I can't stand by it. But the possessing of CP, though, yeah, that's definitely, yeah, that's a sentence worth prison. There was, however, one other detail with this man, and that is that he made a false representation in his application to join the Metropolitan Police that he had not been a member of an organisation similar to the BNP, which is contrary to Section 1 and 2 of the Fraud Act of 2006. I mentioned fraud, but I didn't explain what it was. I still can't fully support this, by the way, and I'm certainly not going to be going into detail on most of it, because I think halls of injustice in the future on this man could well happen. I've been asked by many people to talk about the Cardi B WAP video. When I first heard of WAP, I thought Motorola was bringing back that phone from 2001. Turns out it's a song. I listened to it, by the way, and watched the video. Here's my analysis. I'm a metalhead, I don't care. It's not my thing. So who am I to care or judge another genre that I'm not truly interested in? However, others have analysed it. Russell Brand is one of them. Now, he might be an insufferable tool at the best of times, but his analysis is quite interesting because he took it very, very seriously, with no level of irony from a guy who is renowned for his promiscuity, while blasting as well the women for celebrating their sexuality, which is the claim within the video. I think it's reductio ad absurdum, but okay. Others, though, because of his analysis, have accused him of mansplaining feminism. Now, this is the part I actually want to latch onto. The idea that a male voice explaining feminism in any context is inherently a negative thing. It shouldn't be. A male voice in feminism is still a voice in feminism and should be treated equally. It's not to say he is trying to drown out the other voices, but he has a voice that wants to be heard when it comes to the term empowerment, which is the point he was trying to make. I don't know whether or not that video can be considered empowering at all. Again, it's not really my thing. It really isn't. However, him making points like that, well, obviously he's just read too much into it, are just points. And there should be no way he should have his voice devalued because what he is apparently saying is a bit too arrogant or too negative against what others consider a you girl girl moment. Our final story comes from Dan Harmon, creator of Community and Rick and Morty, who has since had to apologise, along with quitting Twitter, for a video sketch he had done years ago. The video in question came from a 2009 sketch in which he portrayed a therapist who repeatedly had interactions with children. The sketch was supposed to be a two-part satire of the Showtime series Dexter, which, by the way, I was a huge fan of. I just wish they'd done the original intended ending at the end of season 4. These sketches were seen at the LA Short Film Festival Channel 101, which Dan Harmon co-founded. Originally, it had been known to air taboo or offensive content in the past. Unsurprisingly, as the years went by, it got woke. Originally, the video had been removed without reason from the Vulture website. However, the video resurfaced on 4chan and then was shared by some other subreddits who wanted to use this, apparently, to hit Dan Harmon for being a vocal critic of President Trump as some kind of retribution for the downfall of Roseanne Barr. Allegedly. For obvious reasons, I am not going to play the clip that has been going around. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It is very dark humour. This reminds me of what happened to the Guardians of the Galaxy director. It reminds me of things that have been happening to Trevor Noah. I know many take the side of, well, you got woke and then hammered for your past. Yeah, it's amusing to watch. Cancel culture and all that is quite funny to watch, especially from those who are constantly trying to cancel those they politically disagree with. It's like a snake eating its own tail. As with everything we cover here, I'd love to know what you think is the stupidest. Please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you on Twitch tonight, have a fantastic Thursday, and thank you all for listening.